Okay.
And a good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this 12th day of November, 11/12/24. Almost sounds a little prophetic there. Hey, we are always grateful to have the one and only, the absolute one and only. They broke the mold and the cartoon brush when they made Tony Branco comically incorrect. I bet you wasn't expecting that one, Branco. They broke the mold and the paintbrush. Tony Branco, the man, the legend, comically incorrect. How are you tonight, man?
I'm doing good. The first thought that came to my mind, they don't want to do that again.
They don't want to do that again.
No.
We were sort of joking before the show that this could have been a lot more subdued show tonight than it is a week later. 1 week ago tonight, President Trump rocked the world. And you have captured some of this already with your beautiful work on Comically Incorrect, folks. We got the website up here, and it's probably in the chat out there as well. But I want to get your thoughts, first of all, on the general election last Tuesday night. I really believe there was a mandate, Tony. It was not just the electoral victory. There was a surge. There was just something. It was almost like you could hear America screaming. To the left, we are sick of your crap. I mean, I mean that with all due respect. And look, he won the popular vote. He doubled numbers that Republicans don't see with the black vote, the Hispanic vote, the women vote. The only vote he did not get was that urban city vote, and no Republican ever gets that. And he came, and look, if you look at even, I'll just take California. He only lost 9 counties in California, man. That was an earthquake. I mean, these Dems don't realize how close they came to losing California. New Jersey is a battleground state now. It's in play already in 28. And then, on top of everything else, the Senate goes to the Republicans. The House is going to remain in the House in the power of the Republicans. No matter how hard the left tried to do their crap Tuesday night, none of it worked. Her messaging didn't work. Her lies didn't work. Joe Biden's lies didn't work. The left screaming and yelling on The View didn't work. People turned it off and said, blank you, we're voting for Trump. We don't care what you're telling us. Because one thing that the left could not get around, Tony, was that economy and the fact people are sick of these illegals coming into our country. They are tired of paying $10 a gallon of gas. They're tired of going to the grocery store and needing their banker, priest, and probably a policeman so they don't steal.
Men and women's sports.
Men and women's sports, everything, man. And I just think the country said, we're sick of it. And you know something? The country spoke last Tuesday night.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was... you're always nervous before you're going into these things. And my wife, she came to me before the election finals came in. He says, how are you feeling about things? And I said, well, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Exactly.
I said, how are you feeling about things? She says, I'm pessimistically optimistic. Sound like a Yogi Berra.
Well, that's. I think that was a lot of people, though. If you think about it, I think that was a lot of people.
Just because of their tendency to want to cheat. And
yes.
They go for the cheat. There was a lot of cheating going on. And there's 2 factors. Imagine, I got to take off my drawing glove. I use this for drawing. There's 2 factors. The cheat vote, we had to overcome the margin of cheat. And imagine where this election would be if we had a fair media.
Absolutely.
Just down the middle media. Imagine how nobody could look at what the Democrats have done to this country in 4 years. Destroyed it. Practically, it was on the brink. It was teetering on the brink. And it was about to go like this, and MAGA, Trump, snatched it from the jaws of destruction. That's what it felt like to me. So here we are, and we have another chance. I hope we utilize well. I hope that the Republicans in the Senate understand this pivotal moment.
Come on, buddy.
And move it in the direction it needs to be and shore it up so that these Marxists can't do this again. We've got a big fight. After the election, I kept telling people, I says, now is when our fight truly begins.
Well, without a doubt. And, you brought up a good point there. I think that the Republicans now, if they don't get it right this time, Tony, I'm going to tell you something. There could very well be a third party emerge in this country. And I never would dream I would claim that I would want that.
Right.
But we have entrusted them one more time with the House. We've entrusted them with the Senate. There is a change, and I've already seen it this week, and I don't know if you have. I'm sure you have. Trump's outlook on who he's picking for his cabinet lets me know that he got the message the first time, that loyalty supersedes politics, and loyalty supersedes the swamp. He don't care how famous people's names are around D.C. Nikki Haley ain't coming back. Mike Pompeo's not coming back. None of this Rance Priebus crap.
And it's not necessarily just loyalty to him.
Come on.
It's loyalty to the agenda.
To the agenda. That's it.
If you don't have that, it doesn't matter if you like him or don't. He doesn't care about that. He has an agenda he needs to get across. And if you get these Millies and these Mark Kellys or these Kellys and these different Pompeos and Nikki Haley's in there, all they're going to do is sabotage your agenda.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm with you.
They may like him to death, but they don't like the agenda that he's trying to put through, and that was one of his problems before, I think.
I want to run some names by you. Just quick fire questions, and we're going to get to your cartoons here in a minute. I'm going to give you the name of what I'm hearing, because of course this is all media, and he's tweeted some of this out, so we're assuming that these are going to be some of his names. John Ratcliffe for CIA director. Good pick?
I don't know. I don't know much about him. Can you elaborate on that?
I will elaborate. I think on the scale of 1 to 10, he's an 11. I'm telling you, great guy, solid conservative.
I've heard good things.
Yeah.
I've heard things. but a lot of these names are coming by. You know, like Tom Holman he's great. Rick Scott for I hope that he makes it in the Senate as far as the majority leader. Not that he's perfect, but he's a long shot better than Mitch McConnell. In fact, my cartoon out today was about that. And then Kash Patel, I love Kash Patel. These are people. Rubio, I don't know if there's a reason Trump is picking him. He may have something in the works there. I don't know. Rubio's has sounded pretty good over the last couple of years as far as on the Trump team, but I'm not so sure.
Well, I've got your cartoon up. You've got McConnell, Thune, and Cornyn from Texas, and Scott. I do like Rick Scott. He's from Florida. I used to live in Florida. I got a son who lives down there, and some friends, and family too, actually. And for the most part, everything's been positive for what I heard about him. And again, you're not going to find a perfect Senate leader, but I will tell you this: he's no Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell, look, the way I look at it, I give Mitch McConnell a little bit of credit for what he did when Obama left office and keeping Merrick Garland off the bench, because God help this country if Merrick Garland would have made the Supreme Court. So he did wise there. But for whatever reason, he turned on Trump, and he has been nothing but a backstabber. He has ran the Senate into the ground. He has not done any legislative to help the country. He is a dinosaur. It's good that he's going to pasture. But why in the living you-know-what would he try to play politics, 2 months out of the inauguration, let the new Congress come in, let the new Senate pick who they want, and he's doing this for no other reason but to stick it into Trump's face. He's doing it for no other reason than that. Yeah. And that's his legacy, Tony, and that's the kind of stuff that drives us crazy with Washington, D.C., and Mitch McConnell is the epitome of why we hate the Republicans many times just like we hate the Democrats.
Mm-hmm. All the rhinos. He's the head of the rhinos. And then on top of it, pick Cornyn or Thune to replace him, and all you're doing is getting another Mitch McConnell that'll live another 10, 15 years, or however, I don't know how old they are, but none of those people were on the Trump agenda, on the Trump train at all. They all said horrible things about Trump, and I think you need somebody, and I think Rick Scott is in there. He was a Trump guy.
Let me ask you about Scott, though. Do you think this is the other? And because there's a two-sided coin. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
You need a fighter, and the only qualm I've got with Rick Scott, he talks a good game, but there is something about him that I don't know under pressure if he is going to cave to the Schumers and to the other people in the Senate that, he's trying to make these backroom deals with. I know that, and let me just say this. We've turned compromise into this country into a bad word. Look, the country needs unity, Tony. If this country is going to survive, we cannot have it to where when a Republican gets elected, the Democrats hate the Republican for 8 years or 4 years. We can't get to the place that if a Democrat gets elected. Now, granted, I wouldn't vote for a Democrat in a million years. But for the sake of the country, you've got to support your country. You don't have to support the agenda. You can this is what makes the left stance so insane. If they would have just come back to the middle, if they would have ever just governed from the middle at any point, look, I think this thing Tuesday night would have been a lot closer than we even thought. But they are so far left. They're rabidly left. They're rabidly communist. They're rabidly socialist. They're rabidly baby killing.
And some of them I don't even think realize they're just being pulled along.
They don't.
And I wish our side fought harder to save America and make America better than the other side who fights harder to destroy America and take America out of the scene. It's like unbelievable how hard they fight. Hard they fight to dissolve the Constitution, our freedom of speech, our gun rights. There's a litany of things that they fight hard, tooth and nail, to try to undermine American sovereignty, the open borders. I just wish our side would say, look, that's enough. We're fighting just as hard. We're coming at you with everything we got.
Yeah.
Because that's what the mega.
That's so well said. That is so well said. That is so well said. I don't mean to interrupt you. You need to, I'm not joking about this. You need to put that on a cartoon, that quote, that you wished our side would fight for the country more and fight with just as much energy as the left does to destroy it. That is that's the best comment of the year that I just heard tonight. I'm telling you.
I appreciate that, but it's heartfelt. It's what I've seen the last 4 years. This tenacity, and the tenacity of Pelosi. Pelosi has bigger kahunas than any guy I've ever seen fighting for evil. It's like, why don't we have somebody like her on our side fighting just as hard to stop their agenda? But they're always trying to play this game. Like Mike Johnson is constantly playing around. Pelosi wouldn't have done anything that Mike Johnson would have done as far as the omnibus and all these bills that are going in, sending billions over to Ukraine. He would have never, if she was on our side, she wouldn't have stood for it.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I think you're right. Do you like Johnson to remain a speaker?
I think for the sake of unity right now, let's see how he works.
Okay.
As soon as he gets out of line and starts playing this footsie stuff with the left, he needs to go. And I think people are watching him hard. They've made excuses for him over the last because he didn't have a big majority and all this. But if we get the Senate, and we get a few people ahead in the Congress, we need to fight, and he needs to show that he can fight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Huge names today. Huge news. Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel. That's a win. Mm-hmm. Pete Hegseth, the guy from Fox, Department of Defense Secretary. I could not think of a better man.
Hegseth?
Hegseth has been nominated. He's going to be nominated for Department of Defense, yes.
Wow.
And Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. And look, I know a lot of people in Florida have mixed emotions about Rubio. I have no problem with him. I think that Rubio. I think there was something that happened to him in the last couple of years of Biden. I think he realized that he had to make a decision whether he was going to be a rhino or he was going to go Trump. And I think that he supported Trump as much in the last 2 years of this last administration as he ever has. And I thought it was good, and I welcome it, and I think he would make a good Secretary of State. I do.
We got to think past the old school thinking. We're talking about the disastrous Marxist type of regime trying to eat up this country. And we need people in there that realize it. And if Rubio has realized that, I'm all for it. But there's just too many politicians who think that things are just the same old, give a little, take a little of this. But we're in dire straits here, and we need to turn it around. We can't play footsies anymore.
I want to read you something because there was another surprise to me, and it I don't know if it's a surprise to anybody else, but Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, she has been nominated for the Homeland Security head. And I got a friend, Amy Miller, up there, and I know Amy may be listening tonight. And I asked Amy about Kristi. We were up there in South Dakota in the spring, and I don't want to get into because what Kristi said or what Amy said is between me and her, and it was. But I could tell by her comments that Kristi Noem's not perfect, and it's not that she's a bad governor. It's just there are just things in politics that are just never perfect. But I asked Amy about her tonight, and Amy was saying, "Look, I think she's going to do a heck of a job. I may have my personal things, and there's a lot of people that have personal things with Kristi Noem. Honestly, I'm grateful Trump didn't nominate her as number 2. I'm glad that he went with Vance because her name was on that short list of vice president." Yeah. And I think that he had this idea that he had a play out for her that she was going to be Department of Homeland Security. So there's not one pick except one exception. And Betsy DeVos, I understand, is worming her pathetic self back into a Trump administration, he needs to cut that tie off right now.
Yeah.
And he's claiming he's going to nuke the Department of Education anyway. I wouldn't even take Betsy DeVos's calls, because I have heard so many things about Betsy. I've had guests on here. She is not good for the country. She's not good for the education department. She's not good for our kids. And I don't think she's going to be good for President Trump. And I have no idea why he would even consider her.
I don't either. What I'm kind of counting on it is a cartoonist sitting in my office and with no connection to Trump whatsoever, or his entourage. I'm just very hopeful and prayerful that he has a lot of people surrounding him, talking to him, and people that he trusts, people that are on our side, on our team, talking about this, informing him, advising him. So it's a different ballgame than he went in 2016. He went in naively. He was using Washington insiders, and we know how that turned out. He got backstabbed. He got undermined. He got impeached, and a lot of the reason he was impeached was because of the undermining that he went through. He has people on his team advising him. Plus, he's smart. Plus, he's looking long term, and I'm not sure why he's picking certain people that he's picking for what. But I think there's a plan to it, and it's not just Trump. Trump is open to ideas, and everybody that I've heard that works with him has countered the idea that he doesn't listen to anybody. He listens to a lot of different people and then does a consensus or makes a decision based on the information that they give him.
Yeah.
And that's a true leader.
Well, I will tell you something else that's about to happen. And I will say this, Tony, about his choices. This go around, I have never seen a better cabinet taking shape than we're about to have in this country for the next 4 years. And I know the left is going to, if you think they're screaming right now, they're going to be screaming even more. Because I do believe that he is, you're right, I think that you nailed it right there, that I think he learned some lessons that personalities, and I hate to say this, Twitter personalities, Hollywood personalities, social media darlings do not make good cabinet members. Mm-hmm. And he's making right decisions. I'm thinking of, and I hate to bring this loser's name up, but I'm thinking of Anthony Scaramucci, who was part of the television world, and Trump brought him in, the economic world, and Trump brought him in because of his name, and he turned out to be the biggest backstabber in the world. Yeah. There was another one, the woman, I can't think of her name, Omarosa, was the same way. Yeah. Everybody he brought in was backstabbing him in one way or the other. John Bolton, what was the other? McMasters came in and backstabbed him. John Kelly. General Mattis backstabbed him. All of them backstabbed him. And what I was told today, and what I believe is true, that loyalty, and as you said a while ago, loyalty to the agenda is right. But look, ultimately, I think he's wise in picking people that he knows he is going to be certain this go around that there ain't going to be no knives in the back. And this is the difference. He's got a green light to basically kick some booty, clean this garbage out of
he's
D.C.
He's not going to get another chance. And the other thing that they really need to pay attention to is the staffing of the White House.
Yes,
all those small little jobs that down beneath those hundreds of. They need to root some of those people out, because those had a lot to do with how he was impeached, the testimonies, and that came from staffing. Some of the staffing there under the underlings. They were bad as far as stabbing him in the back and this back stuff. Like Venmo was part of that, and a bunch of them.
Well, I haven't even mentioned Sarah Wiles, and Sarah Wiles was made that decision was made early on. Yeah. And she's a former Reagan cabinet head, and that's the first woman that ever is going to be the chief of staff. And you can't get no better than that. I want to talk about this cartoon. I got unburdened by what has been, and Joe Biden and Kamala are in the garbage can. Sort of karma, isn't it, Branco, that they're in a garbage bin since they called all of us garbage. I got to ask you a question. Look, me and we're about the same age, and our demeanor's the same. We're down to earth guys. We don't get caught up in the fluff, and that's why I love having you on, because we always have a good camaraderie and good connection because our personalities are the same. But all this name calling that our side has been called, the fascist, the Hitler, the garbage, the deplorable, misogynist, racist, bigots, uncompassionate. You people are not woke up and hateful and just, oh my God, just the name list could go on. How much do you think that played a role in what happened last week? Do you think that people had gotten sick of being called that, and they went out and proved that something, if this is how you feel about us, you're not getting our vote?
Absolutely, I think it was a huge part of it. And I'll just give you an idea. Joy Reid, her show has collapsed 54%. All of these pontificators on the left, the Morning Joe on CNN, MSNBC, all of these shows have just fell down to, they've taken a huge hit on their ratings. And I'm glad to see it. I think all of those names, especially people know who Hitler was. He killed 6 million Jews and 20 million other people. So they know that Trump, he had 4 years to show whether or not he was going to be Hitler, and he wasn't. He was the opposite. He didn't arrest Hillary. He didn't arrest anybody that had to do with that phony FISA warrant or the dossier. He just tried to go about his business. Actually, he was trying to get his agenda done while they were going after him, lawfare, impeachments, and just pulling things out of their hat to try to nail him to. And then after he left, they were so afraid he was going to run again, they threw a ton more lawfare at him. And that's the kind of things that third world countries do. Those are the kind of things that Marxist dictatorships do. So while they were accusing him of being a dictator, they were accusing him of doing the very same things they were doing. They were accusing him that he's going to arrest all his opponents. Well, that's what they were doing. So people saw the two things side by side. Many of them do. There's always that 30% that's sycophants, Kool-Aid drinkers, whatever, that don't care what happens. They're going to believe whatever the Democrats or whatever it says.
Oh, absolutely, man.
But you have that middle ground, because you got that 30%, but you still have that 60% that, they have that 60% that some of them are in the middle, some of them are conservative, but a lot of people just weren't buying it, especially when they go to the grocery store and pay 30% more for eggs, milk, and gas, and their electricity's gone up. How much BS can you throw at people while they're living the experience?
Well, I think that's well said, and I think that the Democrats, that like they always do, look, and I think you hit on something just now. If you think about it, the left did us a favor by stealing 2020, because I don't think even if he would have went back in 2020, he would have had a antagonistic House. He would have had a razor-thin margin in the Senate.
Yep.
He would have had more
impeachments,
more lawfare. They would have strangled his presidency, Tony. And look, what happened is, they gave it to a nursing home patient, and somebody that we got a video we'll play later tonight on our late show, but she did not get one vote, not one single percent. Even when she ran as a primary candidate, nobody liked her on the Democrat side no more than they liked her on the right. And now, go ahead.
The people for democracy.
Yes.
The people for democracy didn't allow democracy to move forward, but yet Trump is the threat to democracy.
Well, he's more than a threat to that tonight. I'm going to tell you what he is.
Yeah.
The left knows that he's got nothing to lose, and they are, and all these celebrities that are wanting to leave the country. I've got a feeling that some of them might actually leave this time because they're tired. But I tell you another thing I want to talk to you about real quick, and folks, we may take a few questions for Tony in a minute. If you got a question or two, please keep it on topic. And Jennifer, yes, Hexteth is leaving Fox.
Wow.
He's going to be leaving. If he gets nominated, he's got to get the nomination. He's got to go through Congress. They got to approve it. But I don't see anything wrong. But I want to ask you about another factor that this election, and I think that we had a couple of ladies on Friday night before the election, Alice Linehan and January Smith Littlejohn. It was two different subjects, but they were tied together. It had to do with the kids. You've got a cartoon here where the families are protecting their daughter. Kamala Harris is saying, I'm from the government. I'll decide what's good for them. Do you think that fear was also part of this landslide, that people saw that was on the horizon and on a federal level like we had never seen it, that the government was going to basically take our kids, Tony, and do with them what they wanted to? Look, I'm going to tell you something. It scared the hell out of me for my grandkids. It scared me. And look, my children are grown, but that's what they were doing. They're doing it now. And it was going to be on steroids under her. I will tell you this, and this dismantling of the education department, I think is one of the best ideas we've had in 40 years at Washington, D.C. Get rid of this bureaucracy.
We never had the problems we have with education right now until they moved it into this big government apparatus.
That's right.
All the money that we're spending that millions more than any country in the world, but yet we're one of the lowest in education. How does that happen? You know why it happens? Because all this money that we spend on our kids' education with tax dollars is going to administrative costs. Now you look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk took Twitter and he cut it down to 20% of what it was, and it's running a lot better. It's running smoother. It's running faster. So what I'm thinking is, if he could do that, and he's proposed to cut out 400 bureaucracies or 400 organizations out of the government down to 99, and because a lot of them overlap each other, a lot of them are doing some of the same things, and then they're like, they got each one has their hands in different pies. So education, I think it'll run a lot smoother if it goes back to the states, and the states can have a more of a competitive edge. You'll get states competing against each other.
That's very true.
The other thing that Trump proposed is that our higher learning, our colleges, are not going to get any money if they're not ratified properly. Right now, the certification on these colleges is so low that I heard that the DEI or whatever, the medical exams that they have to pass, some of these people can't even pass it after 10 times trying, and then still don't pass it. So these kind of things need to be looked at again and reevaluated. And from what I've heard from Trump today, I think it was, that he's going to do that.
Yes. Well, I tell you what, there is going to be a house cleaning of house cleanings coming in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I think you said something a while ago that if he don't get this done in the next 4 years, Tony, we may not have a president that can after him. I think Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, their mission, the left-wing media's mission and the Democrats, is to devalue and lie and cheat about every achievement that he actually makes.
That's so true.
A lot of people didn't know of all the achievements that he made with the prison reform, with the moving the capital to Jerusalem, the Abraham Accords. The list goes down, moving some of our manufacturing into the United States, sealing the border, our economy booming. A lot of them didn't know that. So their job now, which I'm sure they're going to take it, is to devalue everything he does. And it's up to us, shows like yours, to keep informing the people every day about the new achievements, the new things that he does, and shout it from the rooftops so that people can hear it. People know it, because the media is not going to be his friend. And
No,
they're
they're
not
not.
going to elaborate on anything positive that this administration does.
Well, I think that again, he is in a place in power. I put it like this: he would not have had this collateral to do what he's about to do in 2020. And there's a spiritual element to that I don't want to get into tonight, but it's part of God's protection on this country. It's part of God's mercy on this country.
Right.
If people look, I don't care if there's the biggest atheist out there in the world. If you don't believe that God is in control of America, you need to go back and think about what happened last Tuesday night. Because I'm going to tell you something, Tony. This country didn't deserve it, and God spared it from unspeakable evil that was about to be unleashed upon it from the White House. And I've got to say this, and I know I'll probably get in trouble for it. Look, you had a transgender man running the health department, Department of Health. You had men wearing dresses, basically walking the halls of Congress and walking the halls of the White House and being the social media head with lipstick, hideous lipstick on their lips, bald head. I mean, just hideous figures. You had rabid evil, abortionists, rabid communists, rabid socialists that were basically visiting that White House day in, day out, pushing policies that was pushing us closer to the edge of destruction. Joe Biden right now couldn't tell you his middle name if he had to tonight. And once he had his finger on the freaking nuclear codes for 4 years, and God help us if we'd have had an attack in this nation, what they would have done or not done. And go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think he would have known what to do.
No.
But again, I believe that Biden wasn't running the country. I think Obama and his surrogates were running the country. They were so infiltrated into his administration, and Biden knew it. He didn't care. He was president, so all he had to do was sit around and be president and get all the glory. So he didn't care what they did. Because I know that Biden, the old Biden, wouldn't have tolerated a lot of this.
I'll agree.
That's coming
I'll agree.
through. So he wasn't in his right mind. But we've got a small chance. We got a small window. We got 4 years to prove to the American people that conservatism works. And if we can do that,
true, Tony.
Can't rely on the media to do it.
Come on.
If you, me, all of us make sure that people understand what's going on and we can prove that we can do it, then we've got another 4 years with J.D. Vance, and I have a lot of faith in J.D.
I like
Vance.
J.D. I do.
I think he's going to pull. He could take over very well. I think he understands the agenda, and we actually could have a possible 8 years with. So we could have for the next 12 years. We could have our president, and if we're doing right and we're doing good, and we watch our P's and Q's. And we'll have the House and we'll have the Senate, but we need to work for it. You can't pansy foot around like some of these rhinos do. We'll lose it again.
We'll lose it again if we
leave it to the rhinos.
Totally
People
agree.
get fed up and not vote, and so
totally agree. Now I got a few rapid fire questions for you, folks. We got Tony about 15 minutes. If you got a question about the election results, a cabinet pick, or something like that, now Tony cannot tell you where the Lindbergh baby is. He cannot tell you if the Easter Bunny is real. He cannot tell you whether dumfoolery is now a official word in the Webster's Dictionary. He cannot tell you things like that. He can't even tell you who killed Jeffrey Epstein right now. But I will tell you, he will talk to you about cabinet picks. Is that correct, Branco? Am I right? I'm just asking.
No,
I'm asking for a friend.
If I did know those things, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I know you probably couldn't. That's true. Hey, got a question for you about Kamala. Do you believe Trump was being serious? And do you agree with him asking the RNC to pay her campaign debt off? Because she's, from what I understand, went through $1 billion, bro. $1 billion with a B. And she's still, I think, was it 20 to 30 million in the hole?
Last I heard was 20 million.
20 million in the hole.
I wouldn't pay it off. I think that You know, just like your education fund and, you know, paying off your tuition. I don't think you should pay it. You took the risk, you took the thing, you should do it. And I just don't think he should.
Yeah.
Not that I have any ill will. I mean, the campaign's over.
Right.
Kamala, to all of her friends and family, is probably really nice and sweet and fun to talk to and giggle about a few things. So I don't have any real ill will for her right now. That's over. But you have to be responsible for what you do, and her campaign should be responsible.
I'll agree with that. And I understood why President Trump said what he said. And look, you know something? All these people that say he's an SOB, and even people on the right that talk about his personality, you know, what candidate has ever offered and basically in the sake of unity asked his winning side to help pay the debt of the other one? But that's godliness. That's
crazy.
That's
yeah,
godliness.
And here's the problem with that, though. I mean, if he wants to do that, fine. We'll all think it's a nice gesture, but
they won't. They won't.
There is nothing you can do to make these people happy.
That's exactly right.
They will turn it around. They will ignore it. They will not. So if you're trying to get some kudos from the other side, you're not getting it. You are not getting anything from them. $20 million, I don't know if it's worth it.
I got an excellent question from Carol Smith. Good to see you tonight. What do you think of Carrie Lake as White House press secretary? Because it looks like she's went down the toilet in Arizona. What's your thoughts on Carrie Lake? Not a bad question.
Carol, is that directed at me?
Yes,
or
directed
is that
at
just
you.
A question?
No, that's directed
Carol.
at you.
Okay. Yeah. I think she'd be excellent. She would tear them up. She would not stand for any, you know, she would throw it right back at him. You've seen her in press conferences.
Oh yeah.
She just nails them. She has total recall on memory. She would be a formidable person in that position. I would love to see it if she'd take the job.
Yeah. I think it would be a good call. Lisa Atkinson's question, did Rubio get picked for the Secretary of State? Yes, Lisa, that's what President Trump tweeted out earlier today, that he would be submitting Rubio's name, as far as we know as of tonight. Now, that may be subject to change, but yes, Rubio has been nominated. Danny, your question is the Republicans have the Senate. We do. In fact, we've got a 53-47 majority, and that's good because there is a few rhinos out there, and even with the thing about the Senate that's more important than the House is every one of these nominations for cabinet has got to go through that Senate to be approved, and there ain't going to be no way, and you know where that anybody can stop it. And Trump is picking, Tony, you know the thing about the wisdom behind these picks, there is nothing that I know of any of these people that I would think the Senate would argue with. None of them.
That might be part of his strategy, too.
Yeah.
Picking people he knows can make it through pretty quickly, but are still
going to
with
have
his
his back.
agenda.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that until now, but you're right. That's a good one.
Geraldine Fagan, I would not like Candace Owens. I'll explain why in a minute. I would not want Candace Owens. I think that she is an anti-Semitic something. Danny, Rubio, Danny asked, is Rubio a rhino? I will say this, Danny, I think that there was a time that he acted like one, and I'm not gonna say he didn't, but as I was telling Tony earlier, I just believe, Tony, that there was a change in him the last couple of years, and there's been a change, and I've watched him and listened to him, and he's had President Trump's back pretty much. And I tell you what he did when his name was being floated for VP, and he was coming out pretty strong about this lawfare, and he's basically, he was one of the voices, Jordan and him and others. He's told Jack Smith, and he's told Alvin Bragg, and he's told Fannie, what's her name down in Georgia, you better keep your records, because we're going to look into why y'all did this stuff to begin with. And I think they should. They should.
Yeah, and I don't know if what he's doing is political maneuvering or not. Back in the day, I did a few cartoons of him being
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
A few of them. And so when I see his name right now, I know that he's changed as far as his comments on Trump and what's been going on. I think a lot of people, even some rhinos, are really discouraged or upset about
Never
the
Trumpers.
lawfare that's been piling around. that it's unfair, and they're scared. A lot of them are afraid because this is happening in our country. It's not a banana republic, but a lot of these things coming from the left are banana republic kind of things, and so I'm hoping that he has. Maybe he hasn't to some degree, but maybe he has in a little bit, but enough for everybody to keep him on track, and I'm sure that Trump will keep him on track.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think a lot of them had a lot of them had the last 2016 when he came in, there were a lot of people, all like a cabal underneath him, trying to disrupt his agenda. This is going to be different.
Well, as I said, there's already a difference in his tone. I do have a question for you from myself, and I'm going to ask Amy Miller's question. Amy's got a good comment coming out of YouTube tonight. Biggest loser Tuesday night, other than the media. What person do you think was really the ultimate loser Tuesday night, other than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? I got something to say about Joe after this, but who lost this? Who do you think really was going to take the biggest hit from this that happened?
The biggest hit?
Well, the biggest fallout that's probably they're gonna rue the day of trying to go against Trump because of what happened Tuesday night. Who's the biggest loser? I know there's a bunch of them out there, but
Mark Cuban.
Okay,
Cuban made an idiot of himself.
He gets fired by Kamala Harris. You got to be pretty low scum to get fired by Kamala Harris, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and Joe Biden. Joe Biden did become the loser. I think Joe Biden, he made it to where he wanted to be. He wanted to be president. He was president, even though it was by ill-gotten gains, I believe. I don't believe he actually won legitimately. But you said besides the media, I can't think of any. The Democrats as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, the media to me, the media and the Democrats are the exact same thing. There's no difference. The mainstream media and the Democrats are all like this. So when you say the media took a big hit when you look at their ratings this week.
I know.
Down 50%.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, they had nothing to begin with. How can you keep going down?
Well,
I think heads are going to roll. Heads are going to roll because they need money for, if nobody's watching them.
To your point, CNN tonight has announced Chris Wallace is gone. They did not renew his contract. Jake Tapper has been declined. He wanted a raise. They said nope, and they put an H behind it. Aaron Barnett, another loser over there, wanted a raise. No, Wolf Blitzer wanted a raise. No cigar. There's rumblings tonight that they're looking at Axon Anderson Cooper, and that would be like an earthquake. And the head of CNN basically has come out just this week and said that the network's credibility has been at the lowest it's ever been, and he is tired of it. It has to be reshaped from the top to the bottom, and they're going to get people in there that report the news. And if that's the case, then the crap news network may not be the crap news network no more. But we'll see. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you this, who I think the biggest loser was Tuesday night was Liz Cheney. Because Liz has got nowhere to go now. She can't go back to the Dems. She can't go back to the Republicans. So she basically destroyed her political career running around the country with Kamala.
Yeah.
And
that's what hate gets you.
That's what hate gets you, Tony.
She could have stepped aside and said, I don't agree with everything Trump does, but to join with Marxists.
I know. That's unbelievable.
And then on top of that, for Kamala and the Democrats to join with warmongers. They hated Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. They hated the warmongering. They hated everything about Dick Cheney, Darth Vader. Then all of a sudden they're huggy kissy. I think that didn't help their voting bloc.
Amy Miller, great statement. She says, "I'm loving the Elon Vivek." I forgot about this when we were listening to Elon and Vivek are officially going to be part of the administration. And they've been asked to cut wasteful government spending. Department of Government Efficiency, they're going to call it. Unemployment rate is about to spike, and for once, we the people will benefit from it. That's very true, because you know what's going to happen? I was reading a story here just last week that the greatest number of people that's employed, because a lot of this, the Department of the one that does the figures, the economy with the employment figures. They have been fudging those figures for 4 years, trying to make it seem like people are working, and they're not, Tony. But the one sector that has record employment is the government. And I think Amy Miller's comment is absolutely on spot. That bunch, there ain't gonna be no government. You government folks better be getting ready to pop some hamburgers at McDonald's and get served by Mac Daddy.
Learn to draw some cartoons or something.
Get a podcast, yeah. Exactly. Hey, a couple of quick things, and I'll let you go. Ted Cruz, what's your thoughts? Do you think Ted Cruz would be a good part of his cabinet? What about him?
Yeah, I think so, but I think they need some good senators in the Senate.
That's true. That's a good point.
I like Ted Cruz. I like a lot what he said, what he says. I don't see any rhino cells in that guy.
Okay.
Of course, you look at Rubio. All of them are politicians. All of them are vying for positions. They're all. But at their core, what do they have at their core? And I think Ted Cruz has conservatism, and at his core, and is willing to move the country away from this Marxist cabal this total agenda that we've been experiencing for the last probably more than 4 years, probably the last 15, 20 years. And we need more people like that. But, we do need people in the Senate that are ready to fight against this stuff. And like you said, there's a lot of rhinos. So
Roger Hooker's asking a question. He says, "Who do you like for AG?" That's not a bad question. I was thinking of Ted Cruz. Perhaps do you think Ted would make a good AG?
Yeah, I think he would. There's a few different candidates that would be Mike Davis, but I don't think he'll do it, and I don't think they'll pick him. But
the one name I've read on that list that I despise is Mike Lee from Utah, and I hope to God that he's not looking at Mike Lee from Utah. Yeah. He is a rhino. So I think ultimately Trump needs. Look, we've got a chance, Tony, for the first time in 20 years or longer, to clean this TURD of a cesspool called Washington D.C. out. Yeah. Clean it out. Start over.
Yeah. And we can't
start over.
We can't sprinkle a few people at the top level.
Come on.
We got to go deep. We got to go down in.
Yes, you do.
And root these things out. And because once Trump's not there and maybe J.D. Vance comes in or they lose the next election, all of that ooze will come back right up to the top again, and we'll be right where we were just before the election.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Let me see if we got any other questions here. Let's see this. Charlotte says something might have been a meme that all those in agencies would become Border Patrol agencies. That's a meme. Mitch McConnell is in bed with China. That's true. Elena Habra has been named, or at least her name is being circulated as press secretary. But I have to tell you, I've got my problems. I got a few problems with Carrie Lake, but overall, I think Carrie Lake would make the better press secretary. I think that's actually not a bad. It's not a bad choice. I think you're right. I think she taught. She would. There would be no nonsense. She's a fighter.
She's a fighter. She's a fighter, and she'll go at him. She won't let him get away with nothing.
Yeah, I think
she's very informed and she's very well spoken. So
1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. What do you give Trump so far on his cabinet picks? I give him a 9.5. I do.
Yeah.
DeVos bothers me, but I give him a 9.5.
I would say that's a good assessment, and we'll see how it goes. I think, like I said, I think he has great advisement around him now. And they're helping him, and I'm sure they've got some back and forth going, and that's good. Everybody that's worked with Trump that isn't backstabbing him has said that he isn't my way the highway. He likes to get opinions from everybody. And he works with those opinions, and he comes to a conclusion, like any good, solid leader does.
Final question, and I'll let you go. This is my question. Okay. Does Trump benefit the country? Does the country benefit from him and this is sort of a hard question. It's an opinion question. There's not a right or wrong answer, but I'm just curious how you feel, because I'm mixed on this. Does he benefit the country in going back and investigating 2020 and how they stole this thing? And in lieu of that, on top of that, does he... It's not revenge that I'm after. It's not revenge. I want to make it clear. But what they've done to this man, Tony, for nearly 8 years and will go on 12 years when he's out of office, has been criminal. And I do believe that this lawfare needs to be addressed how they did it, because no political opponents of a regime should ever be treated. And it's not just him, the J6 people, Roger Stone, what's the guy, Paul Manafort, that served prison time, Steve Bannon, that served, it was a sham what they did to Steve Bannon. And the list could go on of people that have suffered because of their political persuasion. And
if they don't, it's going to happen again.
Yes.
People need to be made examples of. And I'm not talking about retribution.
I'll agree.
I'm not talking about revenge. I'm saying that in this country, if you do those kind of things, there has to be something that keeps... They have to be able to think next time before they do it, and fear repercussions. And they need to check those emails. Everybody, like they said, hold on to your records. We're coming to look at them. And I think that's really important for our country. They didn't do this just to Trump. They did it to our country. They took and turned us into a banana republic style lawfare. And I'm all for justice for anybody. Nobody's above the law. But over and over and over again, they're going after him they're turning misdemeanors into 91 felony cases. These kind of things need to be investigated, and you can do it. I know that Trump can do this while he's running the country, while he's pushing his agenda ahead, have a different section over here investigating this, separate from anything else.
Yeah.
Knowing that this is going, I know the media is going to be going, oh, he's going after his political enemies. He doesn't even have to be a part of it. He can just assign a special prosecutor or a system of attorneys. But these people literally went after his attorneys.
That's exactly right, Tom. That's exactly right.
Yeah, the attorney-client privilege was thrown out the window. All these attorneys were getting, look at Giuliani, look at all these other attorneys that were being
Rudy is another one.
Rudy's
another one. Exactly. Rudy's another one.
This is crazy. It needs to be investigated, and retribution, I hate to say that word, but justice needs to be served for the American people on this.
Marshawn delayed this hearing today on the trial in New York. Do you think all these things get tossed?
Right now, I do. I think they're going to be tossed. I think you can't indict a sitting president. I don't know. They might have some maneuver to try to save face on it, but I don't know what else they can do. I mean, they're not going to put it in jail.
No, they're not going to put him in jail.
They're just.
Well, I'll put it like this:
4 more years, But I think Rashawn has tons of egg on his face for what he did, and how
I do too.
A part of the Democrat Party, and he was a contributor in a big way to the Democrat Party.
I think if they'd have won Tuesday,
just let it go.
I do too. I think if they'd have won Tuesday night, Trump would have had some problems. I do. I think they would have went after him bad. Listen, I got an idea for your first cartoon of 2025. I'll just give you the dynamics of it. I'll let you do it. I need a new one anyway. The dumbfoolery thing worked for a while, and they don't even laugh at that no more. That's an old joke here. But I saw something today. Speaking of McDonald's, he sent that letter resigning from McDonald's, his position in McDonald's, and it hit me that you could make a cartoon with, since I'm a McDonald, you could have Mac Daddy, Donald McDonald, see, that even rhymes, or the MacDonald, the MCD, and make it the DON. Now, see, look, I'm becoming an award-winning cartoonist already, and have us in the window together serving hamburgers from McDonald's, because we serve McDonald's hamburgers every night here on the McFiles. Now, is that not brilliant?
Have who in the window?
Me and him together serving McDonald's hamburgers. Trump.
You and Trump?
Me and Trump, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea. I'm becoming an award-winning cartoonist right here on the McFiles tonight.
I think it's awesome.
I'll be holding my breath for you to do that one. But that is a good idea. That would be pretty
cool. Don't hold it too long.
Okay.
I'll be checking on you to see if you turn purple.
Okay. Final thought real quick. I'll let you wrap this up, man.
Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations, America.
Amen.
I think we're on well. But the work just now starts. We got to keep up the fight. We got 4 years to make this work.
Absolutely, buddy. Listen, I'm going to take some questions from the audience after I let you go. But listen, I want to thank you. I'll be in touch with you because I want to get you back on in December. I'd like to do once a month with you as we get into 25. Sure. And I just want to make it clear, like you said, we still have a fight. I told the people last week that the war, every battle is part of a bigger. You can win. You can win battles and lose wars. The war has not been won yet because we still have a country to save and a country to fight for. And
we got to understand our enemy. They're not going to stop.
They're not going to stop.
They're intensifying right now. They're coming up with all kinds of ways to try to combat this and destroy it and destroy Trump. We can't let up now. We can't just go home and say, "Well, it's all over now."
One quick question for you. 1 minute. It just came to me. I forgot it a while ago. I was going to ask you this. Do you think this bunch? I was in a store today, and it was a conservative store. They had conservative merchandise, and I was just looking around, and we were talking, and the young lady behind the counter said, she said, "I get scared." She said, "I've got a toddler, and when he gets quiet, I get worried about him." Why do you think the left has been relatively quiet for a week? Do you think they're planning something, or do you think they just got their ASS's handed to them and they don't know where to go right now? Or both?
Sometimes they're quiet just after they crap their pants. I've had a few kids.
That's a great answer. That's a T-shirt. That's a T-shirt and a cartoon, Branco. See, I've been inspiration to the great Tony Branco tonight, I hope. But I appreciate you much. I love you as a brother, and I really appreciate you. And I'll see you soon. We'll talk soon, my friend. Have a good night.
Buddy. Thank you for having me on.
Always. Tony Branco, everybody. ComicallyIncorrect.com. Look at his website. Thank you, Tony. We'll see you.
Bye.
All right, folks. Stay with me here just for a second. We're grateful for Tony. Put some fire in that house tonight. And my goodness, what a good way to get the night started. And James R was on last night, so let me get that off. And MacMan is here. I just want to read a few more comments. And Charlotte says someone said Trump should order Happy Meals for White House lunch tomorrow. That would be a good one. That is absolutely good. Native American for Jesus. Good to see you tonight. Let's see here. Anyway. And anyway, I'll deal with the paragraph. Let's see here. A couple of comments I read I wanted to read. Yes, Peter Navarro Lisa went to jail for standing with Trump. Mountain Warrior, your question about Megyn Kelly. I don't think she is going to be part of the cabinet. I may be wrong about that. I think that she is another one that, look, her and Trump had some brush-ups in 2015 and 2016. There's no doubt about it. But I think the country went so bad in 2020 that even Megyn Kelly realized that Trump was not the enemy. Trump was part of the solution. And he did a great job, folks. I mean, President Trump did a good job that first 4 years. He did. So, but do I see her in a cabinet? Not at this time. That's just an opinion. I don't have any divine revelation on that, but I will tell you, I don't see it right now. I don't know it. And, folks, I appreciate you trying to give us a history lesson out in the chat room, but we don't like paragraphs, so we're going to let you do that somewhere else, okay? We appreciate your insight, and the world thanks you for your insight. And I think you need to get your own YouTube channel because we don't have time to read it. I'll be off the show by the time people read all that crap. That's why we don't want you to put paragraphs in there. Because Chris went to school in Georgia. I can't even read that fast. And see, I'm being nice about that. If you got any questions, real quick, I'm going to take a few minutes and I want to go back over to Facebook. because there was a couple of things that we didn't answer, and I want to get to them. Let me see here. Let me go. And Roger, I think you asked another question about moving the, how did you say this? Moving the agencies out of D.C. Possibly. You say will it help if Trump moves government agencies out of Washington, D.C.? Roger, it won't help the bureaucracy. He just needs to eliminate these things. I just think, look, I think Vivek and Elon are going to be great. Look, and I'm no fan of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I mean, I don't agree with one thing politically with RFK, but one thing I had seen him already do, he's going to be very instrumental in helping get us back and not be vaccinated up again. I think that it's good for the country. And I applaud President Trump. I don't agree with Robert F. Kennedy's politics, but I think President Trump has been very wise. And I tell you somebody else, and I talked to James R. about this last night, the one person that nobody's really talking about is Trump's son, Barron. Barron Trump did a great deal of good for his father. And we posted a story this afternoon that he got in his daddy's ear and counseled him on which podcast to go on. And he said, these will help you resonate with my age group. And Daddy listened to his son. And tip of the hat to you, Barron. You did good, kid. You did good. You did good. I do want to say, Pat and Deb Dolan, good to see y'all tonight. Steve Bannon, press secretary. I'm mixed on that. I think Steve would make. I'm not saying he would make a bad one, but I think he can help Trump in other ways more than a press secretary. Press secretary is just a voice. It's just a figurehead out there answering questions of reporters. He needs somebody like a Carrie Lake, and I think Tony said she'll fight, she'll mix it up. They won't run over her. Anyway, we're going to ask a poll question one day this week or next one of these shows because I heard somebody say it yesterday in one of the networks, not yesterday but Friday, that 2028 has already begun, and in the way it has. But want to get y'all's thoughts on a few names we're going to run by you for maybe Trump's successor. But I will say this, folks, before we close tonight. We're going to be back here. I got James Akers coming on. James has got some thoughts about Ratcliffe and the CIA types. We're going to try to get Orlando Rodriguez on. Let me see here. He can. Okay, he just sent me a message. So, Orlando. We're going to have Orlando and James at 11. It'll be a late night show. And we'll do a few videos, and I'll be up with you. These late night shows, we're getting more views. We're getting more people to join us late than we are even the early birds, and so forth. I will say this. Trump is president-elect tonight. Please don't forget that. Roger Hooker said something just now, and I want to repeat it, what he said. Our need to intercede has increased dramatically. It's not decreased. We can take a deep breath. The election went right, but we got to get him to January, and we got to get him in office. And he's never been in more danger than he is tonight. And I'm with the lady behind the counter today. The left is awfully quiet. They're awfully quiet overall. And I don't know if they're just stunned. I don't know if they're up to something, which I tend to believe that's part of it. I don't know if they are just shell-shocked and they don't know what to do. That could be it too. But this is an evil bunch. And we need to pray for President Trump like we've never prayed for him before in our lives. More so tonight even than before last Tuesday night. So enjoy this moment. I'm not telling you not to be happy. I'm happy tonight. I'm relieved. I was jokingly telling Tony before the network that the show tonight could have been on a lot different tone had this thing not gone right. But it did go right with God's help. But Christians tend to snatch defeat out of victory. When we see a victory, we just stop praying, and we stop believing, and we stop doing what we need to do, and we don't need to do that in this case. Folks, we're on the precipice. As I said a while ago, President Trump is going to have enough, both political collateral, he's got spiritual collateral with him, he's got people praying for him, he's got the will to do it. I think he's going to have Congress on his side to do it. He's going to have the legislative branch. He's got a very friendly Supreme Court right now with a 6-3 margin. It's not going to change before he gets in office, to my knowledge. And I think that he is going to see the opportunity before him to truly make some changes that are going to benefit this country for years to come if the war tarries. But it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be without peril, and it is not going to be without some people being very, very, very upset. I got to say this, and I hate to say this because my brother brought it up to me the other night, and he was right. JFK lost his life for less, predicting and promising what he was going to do when he got in. And there were a lot of people that were not happy with the direction that JFK was. JFK was a Democrat, but he was taking the country into the center and making pretty wise decisions. And he stood up to the Russians. He was not a typical Democrat. And they couldn't stand it. And you know what happens. History tells you what happened. President Trump's promising a greater scope than even JFK did. We need to pray for him. That's my only pause tonight in all of this. I've got total faith in the Lord tonight. I got faith in President Trump that he's going to make the right decision. I'm not going to agree with every one of them no more than you will. But we need to pray for him. We need to pray for him and pray that God puts good people around him. And I think the people that I've seen on his list so far are good people. They're going to be good for the country. They're going to be good for him. And I think that you're going to see some things change. They're not going to change overnight. But God shifted the country back on a right path last Tuesday night if we will walk in it and take the opportunity to do it right. And that's up to us. It's not even up to Donald Trump. It's up to us. Because this country still belongs to we the people. This country still belongs to we the people. This country still belongs to we the people. And I'll amen myself. Anyway. Alrighty. Listen, we're grateful. Geraldine, did I hear any names about the Attorney General? We will talk about that on the Late Show tonight. Follow me on the McFiles War Room. Good to see Outdoory in the house tonight. Kathy Long and Facebook tonight. Thank you all, our moderators, for being out there tonight with me. We'll be back here late tonight, 11. Orlando's going to be with me. You're going to love Orlando Rodriguez and James Akers. If we can keep him awake, drinking and milk and cookies this late at night. But it's going to be a good late show, too. We'll take your questions again. Looking at that poll, we asked the question, should Trump investigate 2020? 92% of you said yes. 8% said no, with 64 votes. So that's an interesting poll. So a majority of you say that he should basically investigate 2020. So we'll leave it at that. We'll see what happens. I'm mixed on it. I think that there's a part of me that feels like we just need to move forward. But I also believe what Tony said. If we don't get some answers, hold people accountable for what they did, and this includes this lawfare, it'll happen again. It'll happen again. And we cannot afford it to happen again, ever again in this country, what happened 4 years ago. We just can't. And it's getting late, neighbor. It's getting late. It's getting late. It's getting late. And it's time for the church to be the church. And it's time for us as American citizens to either take stewardship and ownership of our country, or we're going to lose it. And nothing that happened Tuesday night, folks, should have changed that. We should have already been taking ownership of it. And a lot of people have been, but there's millions and millions that have not. And it's time that we as a nation come together. And this is how we see it. Listen, I love you guys. Such a good evening, such a good crowd tonight. Thank you all for being with us. Good crowd out there. Thank you, Tony Branco. Comically Incorrect. I would die if he took my advice. That'd be a pretty. I'd get a canvas photo of that and put that in my house. If he did me and Trump together and did the McDonald thing, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? It was scary how accurate he was the first time he drew me on a cartoon. So he's good. He's an award-winning cartoonist, and he's my friend. And we thank him for being with me tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. I'll see you back here in about an hour and a half with Rolando and James on a late night McFile Tuesday night. Good night, everybody. We'll be right back. Stay with us.